not normal. Breast cancer is also estrogen driven, and it now strikes 1 in 8 women. We are mass poisoning all of our children and our adults. Considering the grievous human cost of this tragic epidemic of chronic disease, it seems almost crass to mention the damage it does to our economy. But I'll say, it is crippling the nation's finances. When my uncle was president, our country spent $0 on chronic disease. Today, government healthcare spending
Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. Yes, this is all last minute. Instantaneously, I decided I was going to wait because a little bit later today, I will be on the Friday roundtable at 9 p.m. talking with the panel of different voices, talking about RFK Jr., the fact that he is now out of the 2024 election. And I wanted to wait, and I will have that conversation a little bit later today with my other panelists, Mike Marshall, Frank Johnson, Jan Rains, Dal Grimm, and we're going to be having that conversation. But I'm getting messages on my phone. I'm looking at some of the comments that are coming across on Twitter, and I think it needs to be something we have a discussion with. Because now that RFK Jr. is out of the 2024 election, in his words, he has suspended his campaign for the presidency. He's stopped trying to get on the ballot on many different states. He's removed himself from Arizona, and he may remove himself from up to about 10 other states, meaning that he's about 10 to 20 states that he will appear on the ballot on. But the question is, what happens next, and what does this mean? And I had a tweet earlier. I'm not sure if I have it with me right now. Let me see if I can find that. And I understand this is last minute. No one was expecting this. I wasn't looking to make the comment right this second, but I think it's important that we do. I think it's important that we do have that conversation. And here it is. So here's my Twitter page, my Twitter account. And you can see that we saw this coming. About a day ago, I put out this tweet which says that, it's odd that 70 Democrat protesters are arrested in Chicago. That number has increased. Kamala Harris has peaked at about 46.5% in terms of her popularity in May of the polls. And RFK was contemplating he was going to get out of the race. He was going to endorse Donald Trump, which has effectively happened now as he is speaking about it. And I think that ends the ability of Democrats to win. And I think there's a couple of good reasons for that. I think that's very important for us to understand. This race is over. It was pretty much over from the moment that Biden showed up on the debate stage, and we found out Democrats have been lying to America. And they have been consistently lying to the American people. And yet we still see so many Democrats that are focused on voting for the Democrats. And I don't understand it. Because not only did they lie about Joe Biden being a zombie part-time president, not only did they lie about kicking him out of office, which they did, or out of the election, just throwing him away to take on Kamala Harris, who just 60 days ago, Democrats were deeply conflicted on whether or not they would remove her from the vice presidency because they thought she was too much of a drag. She had too many negatives. She had failed too much. And then upon throwing away Joe Biden, they then tried to resurrect and revision her history. She suddenly wasn't the border czar. She suddenly had all successes in everything she touched, which isn't true. They went back and they washed and just cleaned out her being the most liberal, the most progressive member of the Senate when she served in the United States Senate. Just removed that. They just changed her history, revisioned everything about this woman, and said, you have to vote for her because she is a woman of color and she's a woman, period. And that's your reasons. In fact, if you go to her website right now, if you go to their website, I'll refresh it live. This is the official campaign website for the Democratic Party, for Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. This is to tell you why you should give them money, why you should volunteer, why should you vote for the Democrat in 2024. Their very first thing they have to say to you is, give them money. This is after the DNC convention. You've heard all of the billionaires, the millionaires, the celebrities have come out and said, these are great people. And the reason why they're great, because you're going to give them money. The next thing they say, you go into the actual website. This is after she is officially the Democratic nominee. This is after she has been lauded for 4 days on a stage, even as Democrats ignored their own party members, thousands of them, as they protested and rioted throughout Chicago. This is what they come up with. Give them money. Volunteer. Because she's a woman of color, and Tim Walz is a progressive. That's the best that they have for you. They have no policy positions. It's not like they haven't had over a month to provide the American people a single reason besides Orange Man bad. That's the only thing they can come up with, Orange Man bad. And they knew they were in trouble. They had the option earlier on to say, hey, there's RFK Jr. He wants to debate Joe Biden, but they had to protect Joe Biden. Why was there no primary in the Democratic Party? Because RFK Jr. would have been on a stage and would have highlighted that Joe Biden was a zombie part-time president, that the news media, the left-leaning news media, and the leadership of the Democratic Party lied to the American people, have been lying to the American people possibly for years. This may be, Joe Biden's mental status may be the reason why Putin decided now was the time to go into the Ukraine and start a war. It may be the reason why Iran decided to tell Hamas to go and attack Israel and kill Americans, as well as take them hostage and hold them for over 10 months in a row. It may be the mental decrepitude of Joe Biden was the reason why we see China going into the Southeast Asian Sea, threatening the Philippines, putting pressure on South Korea and on Japan, all of our allies that we have ironclad contracts with treaties with, that we cannot break, that guarantee we would take their side. Japan is building the first army since 1945 because Joe Biden is a zombie part-time president, and they knew it. And the American news media didn't tell you. In fact, they tried to make sure that there was no way you could find out. They eliminated all other voices. They rejected anyone who dare challenge it, and they kicked RFK Jr. out of their party and blacklisted him. Black news media blackout on RFK Jr. because he dared to say there might be a better voice. There might be a better choice. How about we see? Let's use the democratic process in the Democratic Party to get the best person on the ballot. But that wasn't good for the powers that be. And so he got demonized along with Donald Trump, and half of America want to make America great. You would think all of America would want to do that. And I truly believe more than half of America want America to be great. But the polling is what the polling is. And we see about half, maybe 60%, the majority of Americans want America to be great, and Democrats want power. That's what we are seeing. And it's kind of sad because RFK, now he's going through and he's trying to highlight all of the issues that should have come up during a debate. These are the issues that should have come up during the petitions and the primaries for the Democratic Party. All of the things that he's concerned about as a Democrat. He is a progressive. There is no question about that. He is a progressive Democrat. And I don't agree with his policies. I would never vote for RFK Jr. Never. I don't agree with his policies. I don't believe in his isolationism. I don't think he has a good solution for the economy. But I think as an American citizen, he had the right to be heard. He had the right to make his case, to go to his party and say, do you support this versus what you are being offered by Joe Biden and Kamala Harris? He had the right. And the news media, along with the Democratic Party, said, no, you don't. And they asserted their desire for power over his rights by birth as an American citizen. And I was livid about that, which is why I have covered him several times throughout the entire election process. Not because I'm a Democrat, not because I'm a progressive. I'm not. Not because I would ever vote for him, but because he deserves the First Amendment, the right of free speech. And the thing that gets me right now, the thing that is upsetting me about the fact that RFK Jr. is no longer in the race is that this will destroy freedom of speech. I had one of my friends who is a third-party individual, loves the third party, and they contacted me and said, Mike, but aren't you happy? RFK Jr. is out of the race. RFK Jr. was never going to win. Never. That was not going to happen. RFK Jr. might have won one, maybe two states. Maybe. Best case scenario. That's the best he could have done. And that might have forced the two parties. No one would get 270, and then they would have to negotiate. That maybe. There was a slight chance of that. Call it 10% chance that he could force a non-election decision, that it would have to go to the Congress and there would have to be a compromise. Yeah, that was possible. But realistically, he was 90%, was never going to get there. He was never going to get those electoral votes. But he deserved the right to speak. And so as I'm talking to my friend, no, I was never worried about him winning. I never was worried about him taking away enough votes. Yes, he was taking votes away from Democrats. He was taking away more votes from and it seems that's over now. And yes, he was taking away more votes from Donald Trump. No, he was taking more away from Joe Biden, actually. But I was never worried about that. I was worried about free speech. I was worried about how this was going to affect the American people. Because that truly was the most important part. I don't know. It's maybe some people disagree with me, but that's what this is a victory. Is it a victory for Donald Trump? Absolutely. It's good for Donald Trump that he's now going to gain another 2.5 to 4%. I said this earlier. Let me go to a comment I made earlier today, which was that an obvious prediction. An hour ago, I said, obvious prediction, RFK Jr. will be out. He's going to blame the Democrats, which is correct. They are the reason why he couldn't get his voice heard. He may be offered a cabinet position. You know, it doesn't matter which one it is, because no matter what cabinet position he will be offered, the Democrats will do everything in their power to make sure he cannot get that. He will never get confirmed for any position, no matter how qualified, no matter what the reason. Democrats will not allow it. Why? Because he's the enemy. He's a bad guy. They consider him a traitor. How dare he interrupt their ability to gain and maintain power? And I think that Trump will gain 2.5 to 4% of the polling. We'll see that change, and we'll start seeing that Trump will move up. He'll get some of the votes that were still left with RFK Jr. were some holdouts amongst Republicans and conservatives and some third parties, and you'll see them shift over because the race now is over. There is no other third party candidate. Jill Stein, done. Doesn't count. Dr. Cornel West, out. Done. Never counted in the first place. Chase Oliver, no one's even talked about him. Chase is not an option. Never was. Not in this election. He's gone. Third parties are out. So realistically, this is the election. It's Kamala Harris. It's Donald Trump. So you're going to see a boost, even though Kamala Harris has gone through the entire week. She's actually gone through 30 days of being pumped up as much as the news media can. They have done everything they possibly can to make her as popular as they possibly can. They've had candidates speak about her. They've had entertainers come out and talk about her. They have used up all of the hierarchy of the Democratic Party. They have rewritten her history. They have had the news media lie to the public. And they only got her to 46.5%. She gained 4 points from where Joe Biden was. 4 points from where Joe Biden was, and he's a zombie part-time president. That's how big the hill Democrats are trying to climb. And from here, it's only downhill. Because at some point, she must put out policy. At some point, she must do a press interview. At some point, she must answer questions and tell people what she actually stands for. And we have her history. We know how she has performed already. Everything she has done as vice president has failed. Everything. This is why they had to whitewash her history. That's why they had to rewrite and revision everything she has done. She has failed at all of it. So, Democrats come out of this and they get a victory. The Democrats have gotten a victory today with RFK jumping out. And it's not that Trump is now going to gain. I mean, he is getting enough if the election is exactly as the polls show, which I don't think they are. But Trump would gain enough points that he goes back to exactly where he was a month and a half ago. He goes back to the prior to July. He goes back to being up 2-3 points. And he wins. He wins the election. And it's a tight margin, but he'll win. And the Democrats will come out and they'll suddenly say that we need audits and there's questions and problems with the election. There are irregularities and they want to investigate them because how it couldn't be that close. Donald Trump couldn't possibly be that well loved. That's what the Democrats will say. And they're going to try and hold on to power, but I truly believe you will see Donald Trump win. Small margin or not, he's going to win. But the Democrats won, I believe. The win for the Democrats isn't that RFK Jr. is out, per se. It's not that Kamala is going to win or lose because they really didn't care about that. They want to preserve the Congress. They want to win the House and the Senate. That's what this was all about. That's what this last week has all been about. Motivating enough Democrats to vote down the line Democrat to preserve their position in Congress, to preserve their position in the Senate. That's all this is. All the money they are spending isn't to win. If they get lucky, they'll be happy to win. They don't care, though. They don't care if Kamala wins. They don't care about Kamala Harris. They don't care about Tim Walz. They just care about looking good enough, motivating just enough people that they get to maintain their power going forward. That's what they have been doing for the last 30 days. This is their insurance blanket, and it's called Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. So given that, understanding that, their victory in RFK dropping out is third parties are dead. I truly believe that. The third parties going forward are crushed at this point. I feel bad for them. I feel terrible for third-party candidates everywhere because they have been silenced. This has crushed our freedom of speech. The Democrats have used lawfare, using the election system, using the legal system to find ways to silence everyone. And now they found even more tricks. In going after RFK Jr., you're going to see that in places like California, in New York State, Illinois, in Delaware, Ohio, Pennsylvania, the Democrats are moving to change the laws so that no one can ever duplicate what RFK Jr. did. No one can duplicate what, just in the same way that they changed back when Ross Perot ran, and they suddenly changed all the rules and all the policies to make sure that no one could do what Ross Perot did. They're changing the system. They're rigging the game. And every time someone figures a way to get around the way the Democrats have rigged this, well, then they go and get a new way of rigging it. They fix all the holes that they have and say, oh, no, they figured a way to get through this loophole. Let's close that down. Let's close that down. This is, hey, user. User has joined me. Again, this is impromptu. I know people. No one was expecting me to be on. I didn't SEO this. It's all shock. But I feel compelled to talk about this because I'm afraid for free speech. Because, and to be fair, Republicans have some culpability in this as well. Because they were part of the process of shutting down any other voice after Ross Perot in his election. They helped the Democrats to make sure, no, there's only two parties. There can only be two voices that the American people can hear, which is not what the Constitution says. It's not what we have seen in the past. This is the 103rd anniversary of the 19th Amendment, which gave women the right to vote. Did you know there were two third parties in Congress in 1919? And they helped to vote along with Republicans to give women the right to vote, not Democrats. Democrats did not give women the right to vote. They were against it. Democrats were trying to stop women from being able to vote. But it was the majority of Republicans and two third parties that came together to give women the right to vote. And today, Democrats have removed the ability of third parties to have influence going forward. This is a coming to Jesus moment for third parties, but more importantly, for freedom of speech, for Americans to be able to talk about elections, to have choices in elections. This is our coming to Jesus moment. This is the moment we have to come together and say something has to change. We have to stop this. Because look at how authoritarian this has become. I know this is all off the cuff, so excuse me if I'm a little bit all over the place, but let's think about this for a second. We've been lied to. We've never been so blatantly lied to in an election before. Joe Biden's a mental giant. No, he's a part-time zombie. Or rather, he's a zombie part-time president. Kamala Harris is fantastic. She's failed at everything she's ever done. The economy is doing fantastic. They lied about the numbers. They lied to your face and rigged the numbers. The economy's horrible, and you know it. You go to the store every day. You pay your bills. You know that the economy is horrendous, and they lied to you anyway. Now they're corralling you and saying, well, you have to vote. Forget all the rest of those things. Those are important. The important thing is we have a woman of color who's going to break through the glass ceiling. You could have done that at any point. If Democrats really were that concerned about that, she would be the candidate in 2020. She's not good enough. She was never good enough. But they're using the DEI movement to say, hey, well, now's the time. Now's the time, even though she was never good enough. She wasn't good enough in 2020, excuse me. She wasn't good enough in 2020. She wasn't good enough earlier this year. She's not really good enough now, but you know what? She's there. So now you're a sexist, you're a racist if you don't vote for her. Those aren't reasons. The Democrats are putting up a bunch of check boxes, and they are blatantly telling you they've got nothing else to offer. Again, I will go back to their website. This is Kamala Harris's website. Again, I will refresh it in front of your face. They want your money. They want your vote, and they offer nothing. Nothing. They're not even trying to lie about it anymore. They're just not going to give you a damn thing. You're going to give them your money. You're going to give them your vote, and you get nothing. Oh, I voted. I'm not a sexist. I'm not a racist. You weren't anyway. Overwhelmingly, 99% of people in America are not racist or sexist. They're just not. The left wants you to feel that way because that gives them power, but you're not racist. You're not sexist. But that's all they have to offer you. Characteristics. name calling. And if you dare speak, they want your voice gone. They destroy you like they did to RFK. And that's my problem with it. RFK is the example of how far they will go to destroy you. It cost him $20 million to get this close to running for president. $20 million. You are never going, your kids are not going to be president. Your grandkids aren't going to be president. If you're not a multimillionaire with a bunch of multimillionaire friends, you will never have the option to run for president. It's just not going to happen. You have to have millionaires as your friends. You have to have multimillionaires that are backing you. And preferably, you should be a multimillionaire as well. You have to have that to suddenly run, because Democrats have made it impossible. They have their lawyers, their legal machinations have made it impossible. And that kills the freedom of speech. And that destroys our options. It takes away our ability to get the best person. It's kind of like Kamala Harris. Is she the best vice president that we could have had? No. By definition, she isn't the best. She was the best to fill the check boxes. The check box was, you have to be a woman of color, you have to be a woman. Check boxes. You have to be a Democrat, and you had to be progressive. Check boxes. She was the best of the check boxes available, not the best person. That is authoritarian. That's not freedom. That's not freedom of choice. That's not uplifting anyone. That's exclusionary, not inclusionary. Let me go back to some of the comments. We got some comments. I know it's the middle of the day. No one expected to be on. I'm not supposed to be on until 9 o'clock. So thank you guys for joining in. User has been banned says, good look telling people their experts rigged the numbers. You need to trust the experts. We can't trust the experts. The experts lied. We know this. We just saw that yesterday. The economic numbers were rigged. It's the biggest reduction in numbers in 15 years. And it just so happened to be under the Biden-Harris administration when we have a zombie part-time president and we have a woman who doesn't have the qualifications. She's failed at everything she has done. And their thing is, everything's great, vote for us. How odd that was. Yeah, the experts are useless at this point. Because we've been saying on this channel, and you can go back, we told you in February 17th of 2021, we told you America was going into economic turmoil. In August of 2022, we told you we were going into a recession. We warned you about the global food crisis. The mainstream media wouldn't tell you that because you might not vote Democrat. They refused to talk about this. We have been talking about this for years because the evidence was in front of us. But this is authoritarianism in action. You can't talk about it. We have been suppressed because we dared to talk about this. That's the problem. Democrat Mike has said, Democrat Mike says, I keep saying Kamala wrong. Yes, I know. I call her Kamala. I don't respect her. I don't care. Yes, I know. It's not the way to say her name. I don't care. I realize that. And I don't care because I don't think she's a good candidate. I don't respect her as a candidate, as an individual. I don't. She lied to the American people. Kamala or Kamala, however you want to say her name, Vice President Harris lied to you and me, saying that Joe Biden was a mental giant. He's a zombie part-time president. She is complicit. She knew that he was incapable of doing the job and that we should have already executed the 25th Amendment against him. So yeah, she doesn't have my respect. So if I say her name wrong, I don't care. I don't care. Because she doesn't deserve the respect because she has failed the American people because of politics. Her ambition was more important than having America have the best people in charge. her ambition was partisan. So I don't care if I pronounce her name properly or not. Let me see what else we have here. Mike says it's insulting. I don't care. I am trying to insult her. She deserves to be insulted. She insulted America when she told America that Joe Biden was sharp as a tack, and we find out he only works from 10 a.m. until 4 p.m. 5 days a week, and that they have lied to us, that they lied about the economy. They have done nothing to get Americans who have been held hostage for 10 months home. Yeah, that's an insult against America. So yeah, I don't care if I get her name right. And I have no obligation. I'm not obligated to not insult her. Yes, I think she's a horrible candidate. I think she's a horrible person because of what she has done to America. Not because of the color of her skin, not because she's a woman. It's because of the choices she has made. And the choices she has made have hurt America. And she did that willfully for her own selfish benefit. So yes, I call her by the wrong name, and I don't care. Give me a moment. I'm checking through. Democrat Mike goes, Jesus would be proud of you. I'm not Jesus. And I will talk to my maker when I die. Okay? I'm not a saint. I'm a political commentator. I've been a political candidate. I'm not a saint. If you're watching the channel because you think I'm a saint, you're on the wrong channel. If you're watching this channel because you think I am some kind of holier than thou individual, you have been misled completely. I'm a human being, and I have grievances, and I will take out those grievances just like anyone else. So if you want to say, oh my God, but you're not being a Christian, and that's my problem. So what? What's that got to do with the politics? Am I wrong? See, I love this. Democrats love to change it. Well, you have to support her, Mike, because you're black. No, I don't. You have to support her because she's a woman. No, I don't. You have to support her because she's a Democrat. No, I don't. Well, you're not being nice. I don't have to be. That's not an obligation. That's not a requirement. That's not, oh, you can be an American citizen if you fill all these check boxes. I'm sorry. That's not how it works. So when people say, oh, but you're not being Christian enough, you're not being holy enough, you're not being sexist or anti-sexist or anti-racist or whatever their qualification is, I don't have to be. It's called America. And anything else is not only a distraction, it's a limitation on our freedom. It leads us down an authoritarian path. Do you understand that, Democrat Mike? That when you tell people you have to be a certain way, otherwise they are evil or wrong, you are being authoritarian. You're being exclusionary. You're defining those individuals' lives. And I don't think you would want someone to tell you, hey, you know what? You're not Christian enough. You should be punished because you're not Christian enough. You would say, you can't say that. If I came to you, Democrat Mike, and said, you have to vote for Jill Stein, she's a third-party candidate, and you have to vote for her because of the color of your skin, you'd say, that's insane. Why in the hell would I have to do that? And why is it different? Because I'm black? Because I'm black and Hispanic? Why do I have to change? Because I'm calling out the problems that are empirical. Why do I have to change? No one likes to answer that when it's posed to them. Democrat Mike says at one point, he says, you just don't like Kamala Harris because she has a different political belief than you. Yes, that's obvious. I did say that, did I not? I've been very clear about that. Not only because I'm a conservative Republican, but I have highlighted the failures that have happened where she has failed in her job. I've highlighted for years the consequences of her failures, the failures of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and the Democratic Party and progressives. I have highlighted that. I have gone through the evidence week after week, video after video, for hundreds of videos for over almost 2 decades now. Of course, I don't like their political beliefs. That's the point. No one's supposed to. Oh, I love this. I love this. Democrat Mike goes, "We don't care about your feelings." Good. You're not supposed to. This isn't about feelings. This is about politics. They're not the same thing. They actually have nothing to do with each other. I don't care about your feelings. I've said that on this channel many, many times. I've also said you shouldn't care about my feelings. You have your feelings. I have my feelings. I don't have to have your feelings. You cannot force me to have your feeling, and I don't want you to have mine. You have your own. So that's a good thing. Oh, now I'm going to hell. I love this. See, I love this. Here I am. I'm trying to talk about the impact of what has happened to RFK, what's happening to third parties, what's happening to free speech, what's happening to our election system, and the fact that we are seeing more authoritarianism come into America in elections. It's the reason why we have more apathy in our elections, why fewer people are voting. It's not because of lack of access. It's not because people are black or people of color and they're being denied the opportunity. It's because people don't feel like their vote matters anymore because of how authoritarian the system is becoming. And as I am trying to say that, I have Democrat Mike in the chat who is trying to tell me I'm going to go to hell. They're trying to attack me on a religious level now. I don't know why. I haven't mentioned anything about religion. He's trying to now demonize me and say, oh, you're going to hell because I don't feel the way he feels, because I don't agree with the politics he's putting forth. Now he's attacked me as an individual because he doesn't like the response I am giving, which has nothing to do with religion or feelings. It has to do with facts. It's amazing. I love it. He goes, I'm not saying you have to act in a certain way, but you have to act in a certain way. Democrat Mike is in the chat. You can see this in the chat. Democrat Mike goes, yeah, I'm not saying you have to act in a certain way, except you have to vote a certain way. You have to vote. You have to say her name the way I want you to say her name. You have to talk about the policies in the way I want you to talk about it. You can't bring up all of the failures that have happened. You can't bring up the fact that the news media is hiding those failures from the American people, that we're being told to ignore those failures, and the fact that there is zero substance in the Democratic Party campaign. Oh, I'm not supposed to do that. But, you don't have to act a certain way. You just can't do these things. Okay. Harry Black, who's on with us at D-Live. Hello, Harry Black. And thank you for joining the audience here. Says, you're making total sense to me. I'm trying to, because I think this is important. I think this is critical, folks. And I'm not telling you that I'm perfect. That's never been the case. I'm not, nor have I ever pretended to be so. I'm giving you an opinion based on facts. And I think that's what's most important right now. We have Democrats who are trying to tell you you have to react based on feelings. And that doesn't work. Feelings are temporary. They are ephemeral. They're like smoke in the wind. And they don't mean anything. There's no substance to that. You don't make policies that affect the world and a nation based on feelings. You make it based on facts. Oh, there's 30% less food in the world. We have to make policies based on that, not whether or not I feel like Twinkies are the best thing for people to eat tomorrow. That's not an answer. You have an actual problem. Does that not make sense? And when we have what we have right now with RFK Jr., again, he was never going to win. I never thought he was a good candidate. He has always been a progressive Democrat. His policies are absolutely progressive Democrat. And in America, he has the right to run for president. He had the right to spend the money and to get on the debate stage because he earned it. He did the work. And he has the right to make his voice heard. But Democrats, and again, Republicans weren't out there trying to lift him up either, but they weren't trying to hold him down. And maybe if he was taking more votes from Donald Trump, maybe Republicans would have been more against RFK than they were. Maybe. But what we know for sure is Democrats absolutely denied the American people the voice because they didn't want the competition. They represent all of the left-leaning voices. They're the only other choice. And now they have succeeded in eliminating any other left of center voice. If you're left of center, you have to go to the Democrats. Consequently, if you're right of center, you have to go to the Republicans. I think that's a problem because most of America isn't Democrat or Republican. There are 45% of America, the majority of Americans are independent. They're neither Democrats nor Republicans. That's a fact. Republicans have about 20% of the population. Democrats have about 20% of the population. And everyone else falls pretty much into the independent category. There's about 3-5% of people who are Green Party or they're, the DSA, or they're libertarians, or they're conservatives. Okay, that's like 5%. And everyone else, they're in that middle group. They're independent. They're independent, and they are being wedged into these two parties artificially, and that's not good. That's not freedom. That's not how you maintain a constitutional republic. That's how you create an authoritarian government. It's how you kill free speech. Just like we were watching, and just as we were seeing on this chat, because my channel is highly suppressed, and I hope people do like and share. And yes, this is me just ranting, stream of consciousness talking to you. I didn't have anything prepared, but I think it's important. But this channel has been suppressed. Why? Because I'm actually willing to tell you the consequences that I see. When we see that people are being forced into making your choice on the left. If you believe an orange man bad, then you only have one choice. You have Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. What are they offering you? Nothing. Nothing. I'm not making that up. The fact is, this is their website. This, after 4 days at the DNC, after a month of being anointed and presenting themselves to the public, the answer is nothing. 0 interviews, 0 press conferences, 0 substance on her website. She offers you nothing. And I know people will say, but Mike, she's actually talked to people and she's going around and telling people, okay, what did she say to the small towns? Do you know? No, you don't know what she promised when she went to California and she had a rally. Unless you were there, unless you recorded every single word, you don't know what she offered people. You don't know what she said as a joke, what she said as an absolute fact. You don't know what she said. And you don't know what she stands for. Because when she went to a conference in Ohio, when she went to Minnesota, when she goes to Texas, she says different things. We know this. This is why her policies have flipped out. Because what she said in 2019, she doesn't agree with today. Oh, she believed in defunding the police then. We're not quite sure if she believes that today. She believed in no fracking in 2019. She's okay with fracking today. These are fundamental values. And they are critical on their impact on America. We're talking about energy independence, one of the main factors influencing inflation that we are suffering right now. fracking is critical to that. And she's flip-flopping. We don't know where her real position is, and she won't answer a question on that. Defunding the police? Crime is an issue as we have open borders, and we know that over 378 known or suspected terrorists have entered America because of the open border policies of the Biden-Harris administration, of her failure as the border czar when she was put in that position on March 24th of 2021. We know this for a fact, and she has failed at that. Terrorists have come into America, and we know Americans have died because of illegal aliens that were allowed to come in on college campuses and in cities across America. People have died, and it's her responsibility. It's her consequence. She failed, but we can't talk about that. There is a problem here. This is not good for America. Democrats' victory today in defeating RFK is a danger for America. And I don't care if you think Orange Man bad. Doesn't matter. By the way, that's not a reason. Just in the same way that voting for Kamala because she's a woman, that's not a reason. The color of skin, not a reason. Orange Man bad, not a reason. Are there policies that you can go and say, I don't agree with Donald Trump on this? Fantastic. There are dozens of them. And you can look at his record and say, I don't agree with the way he handled X, Y, and Z. There are legitimate arguments that can be made to say Donald Trump isn't the best choice out there. You can make those arguments. They're not. They're saying Orange Man bad. He's just bad because he exists, because he doesn't have the same feeling as Democrats, because he doesn't believe the same things as Democrats and progressives. That's not a reason. Because he's not a woman, nor is he a person of color. That's not a reason. Those are check boxes. They are meaningless. Is Kamala Harris effective? Her history says she is not. Her record says she is not. Therefore, she shouldn't be president. Is she efficient? Her record says she is not. And we have distracted, and we are being distracted by the mainstream news media away from that. And RFK, as well as some of the other third-party candidates, as well as Donald Trump, were highlighting that. They were making that aware. And the answer from the news media and from Democrats and certain powers that be have been, let's make it monetarily and almost and legally impossible to share those concerns and those objections with the American people. Deny them the facts. Make this emotional. This election, 2024, is about representation. This is the election of representation, which is useless. It's useless. That is the least important thing. It doesn't work in entertainment. It doesn't work in real life. It's a horrible fantasy, and it is an impossible reality. Please, someone quote that. Clip that part. I'll say it again so people can clip this. Living on the idea of representation is a fallacy. It doesn't work as a fantasy, and it is a failure in reality. It is a way to exclude people, to punish people for being different, for not agreeing with the powers that be. It is authoritarian. It is exclusive and authoritarian. It is dangerous. It leads us down a path that is not productive for America or the world. I truly believe that. Let me see. There was a comment here. Harry says, I respect RFK for his choice today. He still has some integrity. I respect why. I understand why RFK dropped out of the race. Because he was faced with a literal impossibility. He couldn't win. Although I never thought he could. He could make an impact. And I thought if he went all the way to the end, he would have made his statement. I can say I would have had more respect for RFK to be on the ballot in one state all the way until the end of the election and lose in a landslide, getting less than 1% of the vote, I'd have more respect with him in that scenario than what he has done today. Because it has consequences. Now, I also understand it costs money to do what I'm saying. It costs a ton of money. We're talking about tens of millions of dollars to make it to November. And I understand that's almost impossible. Where do you get the money? When everyone knows you can't win. You're not going to just win 270 electoral votes. Not going to happen. You might win one state, maybe two. Maybe you can then force this into Congress and have a negotiation about who runs the country and what policies are there. Maybe. And that's the long shot. We're talking about you got a 5% chance. You got to roll a natural 20 on a 20-sided die for that to happen. I get it. And you have to get people to fund you and all of your campaign. It takes tens of millions of dollars to get to that end. I understand it is almost impossible to do. I understand that he is in this incredible uphill battle and he is being beaten about the legs as he tries to take every single step by the Democratic Party. I get that. But I wish he made that effort anyway. I wish he made that struggle for the American people, to make us understand through his sacrifice, through his abject failure, to see how bad Democrats have corrupted the system. And to an extent, Republicans as well. Let's be fair. To an extent, Republicans as well. But really, by Democrats. I mean, they have literally been changing the laws state after state after state to give themselves more and more of an advantage and demonizing everyone who disagrees or questions that. The news media is blatantly biased because, think about this. The news media, I knew the financial, and I have reported for years. As I say, I have dates. I can show you the videos where I clearly and definitively explained the logic behind why U.S. economic policy was bad, how it was going to harm this nation. I actually predicted in February of 2021 the fact that we would have not just double-digit inflation, but inflation that would be around 20%. I called it in February of 2021 with factual data, consequences showing exactly how we would get there. And I was right. And if I could understand that, you mean to tell me that ABC News with 10,000 employees, CBS, MSNBC, the mainstream news media, the New York Times, they have tens of thousands of employees. They're making tens of millions of dollars. And you mean to tell me no one in their staff figured out what I could figure out by myself? With less information, with less data? I'm one man. I lose money every year. I live in poverty, but I do this. And I could figure it out. You mean the guys making six figures working for the New York Times couldn't figure it out and they have access directly to the Biden-Harris administration and they couldn't figure out this economic data? Of course they did. Of course they did. But they didn't tell the American people because it might change the way you vote. Because you might not wind up voting Democrat. And they have a partisan preference that you actually vote that way. It is beneficial for you to vote along their political ideology. And again, this is the problem for America right now. We have ideologies that our race isn't between. The election today in 2024, it's not against Donald Trump and Kamala Harris. It's against a progressive and authoritarian government and anything else. That's really what's going on right now. That's the real challenge facing America right now. We're fighting authoritarianism. That's what the future of America is leading towards if we go down this path. Authoritarianism. The third parties have now been defeated. If I were the third parties, I don't care, any of them. It could be the Green Party. It could be the Libertarians. It doesn't matter. The third parties right now should be doing one thing and one thing alone, trying to figure out who is their best spokesman for their policies, their principles, and to train the hell out of this person to actually be capable of drawing in American people for 2028. They should be right now working on their candidate for 2028. And it can't be Jill Stein yet again. It can't be Dr. Cornel West yet again. They need new faces, new voices, individuals who actually can take this message forward. And they do that because freedom of speech. It's to defend our freedom of speech. And we need people in the Democratic Party, people in the Republican Party to do the same thing. We need to start preparing now and making sure that our free speech does not die because they're trying to kill it before our eyes. And this is the example of it. RFK Jr. is the example. They said, oh, $20 million? Screw you. Because they control the media. Because they control access to the public. Because they want feelings, not facts. It's very upsetting to me. And I think it's very troubling. Again, everyone has their own opinion. You may say, I'm just looking through some of the comments here, and I see most of them are coming from, yes, it's coming from Harry Black, and I know user has been banned. I know Democrat Mike is somewhere in the background there, probably listening and trying to figure out how he can tell me that I'm not being good enough in his opinion of being a good enough human being, which honestly I don't care. But I hope I'm trying to make this clear. And again, this was off the cuff. This is me just speaking to you. I did not plan for this, but I was going to wait until 9 o'clock. And at 9 o'clock, when I do the Friday live stream tonight, I think that may, I'll have this more thought out. And on, of course, the Sunday live stream that we do every week at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, every Sunday. This is season 7, the 7th year in a row that we've been doing that. Of course, I'll be going into greater detail. We'll be talking about the impact, the quotes, the results of this. We'll talk more about it then, too. And I'll have more details by then. I'll thought this through more. But at this moment, I'm just telling you where I'm at right this second. This raw emotion, yes, but also this raw logic, the thought process here. That the biggest problem today, if you're a Democrat, you shouldn't be Republican or Democrat, whether you're voting for Trump or Kamala Harris, the thing you should be considering today is our system, our election system is fundamentally broken. Doesn't matter if you're a Democrat or Republican, if you're independent, if you don't think about it. If you know more about the Kardashians than about American politics, this is still the question that should be troubling you right now. Our election system is broken. Apathy is increasing by the month. People are being told they don't matter. If they don't follow the message, then they don't count. That only leads to bad things. Everywhere that you see freedom of speech is being suppressed, you're seeing growth of an authoritarian government. Everywhere. This is historically always accurate. One of the first things that every single authoritarian government does, it takes away the ability of people to defend themselves, and that also includes the ability of people to speak. You don't get to say what you believe, and you don't get to defend yourself, your family, your property. They take away those two things. They are the two things that enable you to be free. Everything else leads you to become a slave. Whether it's an economic slave, a physical slave, an emotional slave, doesn't matter. If you don't have the freedom to speak your mind and to defend yourself, which would be an election. That is defending your views, your values, your essentials. That's voting. That's defending yourself. As well as speaking up and telling people why you're voting the way that you're voting. If we don't have these things, we don't have a country. Does that make sense, folks? Harry Black says, the election system is a sham. It is, and it is getting worse. It's not just that it's broken, it is getting broken irrevocably. And I think we are damn near the precipice of that. That we're very close to it being impossible to fix our election system. We're very close to that. And that troubles me because no one's willing to say it. We're not allowed to have this conversation on CNN or MSNBC or the New York Times. We're not able to have this on ABC or CBS. We're not able to have these conversations. We're told you can't think that way. Don't say that. You're the problem. Oh no, you're the bad guy. How dare you say that? By the way, vote for Kamala. Why? Because are you a sexist? Are you a racist? No? Well, then you have to vote for her. Well, that's not a reason. That's not even logical. Doesn't make any damn sense. Has nothing to do with the election or making America a great country or helping the world. That's nothing. That is a checkbox. Oh, see, you're talking those crazy things again. How dare you say that? You can't say that. Why not? Am I not American? I know in England I can't say that. I know in Canada I can't say that. In Germany, in France, in Spain, in South America, Africa, Southeast Asia. I understand in everywhere else I can't say that. I'm in America. I am an American. All right, folks. So I wasn't planning to be here long. It's been an hour. Again, I only jumped on to share my reaction, my immediate and instantaneous reaction. I do have, again, I will tell you that you can go over to my Twitter where I typed out some of my thoughts about how this is affecting America, how it is negatively impacting our elections going forward, how Democrats have succeeded in hurting America, in damaging our elections, and making it less likely that people will vote going forward, not just in 2024, but 2028 and thereafter. I'm going to continue to say that I believe that Kamala still won't win, but the damage is being done, and we are getting closer to an authoritarian nation because of these actions that they have done on the Democratic side to RFK and many others. I do suggest people will be able to see my friend Larry Sharp. Hang on a second. Hang on, I'm just typing this out for you guys. So my friend, Larry Sharp, will be on later tonight at 7 p.m. And he's going to be talking about the reaction about RFK dropping out of the race and how that impacts the third parties. I'm guessing. I know Larry for a decade. I know he's a third party. He supports third parties. And I listen to him. I listen to Kit Cabello, who has the progressive point of view at Hard Lens Media. So I'm going to be listening to them later today to hear what they have to say about from the progressive point of view, from the libertarian and third party point of view about how this is going to be impacting them and America. And then at 9 p.m. tonight, I will be on with the Friday Roundtable. So tonight, on this channel at 9 p.m., there will be the Friday Roundtable where I will be speaking with the panel about this and how they believe this is going to be impacting America. from their different points of view across this country. And that'll be interesting. And then on Sunday live stream is, of course, at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Hang on a second. And the Sunday live stream is, of course, 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where we will be talking about this and several other things that have happened throughout the week that you haven't been really told about, like the military bases that have been attacked under the Biden-Harris administration over the last 3.5 years. The number of attacks that we've been seeing, especially in the last year, that have been affecting families and American military members, and it does have a lot to do with the 378 known or suspected terrorists that have been caught entering into America and what may be happening in America going forward. So we'll be talking a little bit about that on Sunday, as even though it's not the most popular news, it is perhaps some of the more important news. But with that said, folks, I got to get ready for the 7 o'clock to listen to Larry. I got to check out Heartlands Media and listen to Kit Cabello. I got to get ready for the Friday Roundtable at 9 p.m. tonight, plus to see some of the fallout from RFK Jr. now being out. And, of course, he's going to be supporting the Trump campaign and seeing how the polling is going to change. Again, my prediction, Trump will get 2.5 to 4% boost, and you will see over the next month, you're going to see Kamala Harris drop. That's what I believe is going to happen, but I could be wrong. Let's see. I look forward to seeing you guys a little bit later. Thank you, everyone who commented, for Harry Black, for joining us for the first time. I thank you and I appreciate you. To User has been banned. Of course, I always love hearing you and your comments on the channel. Even to Democrat Mike, who wants me to comply with his feelings and the way he looks at the world. I thank you all for all of your comments, and I look forward to talking to you guys a little bit later tonight. Thank you.